it shows all about rocks and wrecks and all this kind of stuff. So it shows you what the graphics look like. So if you've got a wreck at the last known depth that's been swept by something, it's a WK. So you can look on this map. Let's see where we can find a wreck. There's a lot of them. So look just to the southwest of Long Sand, the west end of Long Sand Shoal, you'll find 6 Mile Reef.
Wait, sorry. Found it.
Yep, find 6 Mile Reef. Go just a little bit further to the south and west, and you'll see a blue circle that says 56 with an underline and a WK.
Yeah.
That's a wreck.
That's what?
That's a wreck.
Oh shit.
A ship.
I really want to see a shipwreck.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Doc Shinto, Ben's dad, has dove that wreck, I'm pretty sure. He's dove, he is a very serious diver, and he has dove a lot of the wrecks in Long Island Sound.
What kind of ship is it?
I don't know. I knew once, but I can't. We can probably look it up and find
Yeah,
out.
I'm getting my scuba license. I'd love to see
To
that.
actually like see the wreck. I mean,
Yeah, can you see anything? I feel like the water's so dark.
The proper lighting, yeah, you can see it.
Oh,
Yeah,
do
so-
they have like special lighting?
Yeah, well, what divers use, they use very, very intense and bright lights to go down and see this stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if we couldn't find a YouTube video of that wreck.
it would be so scary if all your equipment just suddenly failed and you couldn't see anything.
Yes, it would.
Swim up.
Yeah, but you don't know what way this
Yes, you do. When you exhale, you should go where the bubbles are.
Or if you
Yeah,
just,
but if it's completely dark, how
if
do
you go limp,
You listen to them.
if you go limp for a second, you'll float up.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it's completely dark, how do you know?
God.
All things that I'm sure they walk you through in a diving class.
Yeah, they do.
Also in here it explains all about the voyage system, which we're going to talk about in more detail. It explains lights. So all of that is in chart number 1, and it's information that doesn't exist in this map. It's stuff that you have to know. If you didn't know, if we didn't have this class, we haven't talked about it, if you didn't have chart number 1 that you could look at, you'd look at a lot of stuff and you really wouldn't know what it would be. So what I did is I went through chart 1 and I basically made a list of every term that you could possibly know that's out here. And that's the list.
Why would you use yellow? Why would you use Y for yellow on the last one?
Oh, I forgot a W there. Sorry for my mistake. Well, because there's yellow lights around.
Yellow.
Yellow.
Why's the yellow supposed to? Oh.
Because I screwed up. So, apologies.
Like, can I take a picture of that?
Huh?
Can I take a picture of that?
You don't need to know all that. And you guys can have all of this electronically.
He records it.
Yeah. Well, and you'll get it all electronically. Now, what I did is I took all of this data, because it's like all a mishmash, right? And I basically sorted it into 4 categories for you. I basically sorted it into things that are related to navigation, so course, compass, charts, datum, quartogram. Things that are related to voyage, so colors, types of lights. Things that are related to tide, and then things that are related to the bottom. So I resorted it for you. And then what I took the liberty of doing is going through the last 3 years' tests and saying which ones were on the test. So while it's probably good to know the majority of these, some of them are logical, some of them aren't. The ones you really need to know are these. Okay? We know these, so let's talk through these. Actually, we're not going to talk through them because I have an example on each of them. So, we've already talked through this with the exception of the lowest astronomical top. So, if the mean low of lower water is the average of all these lows, at some point in time, there is a really, really low tide. And it's called an astronomical tide because it's driven by the position of the moon and the sun. And so, for example, I call it Turkey Rock, it's off of A Dock. You know, it's a big rock that kind of slopes. So if you're coming into Riverside. If so, imagine, so Riverside's up here. So if you were to see this rock at low water, so here's the red buoy. You know, it looks like that. And the water kind of laps on this low part, and you can see this second hump over here, right? So that's kind of what you see. However, at an astronomical low tide, there's a third hump. And if you start to see the very top of that third hump lapping, that's when you know it's really low water. I've only seen that once or twice, but it's when you get like a really low tide, and it happens to be a low tide when there's an easterly breeze as well. So that's that one. And we'll go through all of these light ones, you know, for sure, and we'll go through all those. So those are the ones you need to know. Make sense?
Yeah.
Questions on this so far? So what's the saying? How do you tell which side? So you're coming back in the channel. You've been out at Great Captain Island. We have a red and then a series of greens, and then you get to another red at Turkey Rock. It's the second red you come to. Which side do you leave those reds to?
Red, right, returning.
Red, right, returning. Well, not always.
About the only thing.
What?
It is red, right, returning when you're working on the IALA, and I think I had this abbreviation back here earlier, which in chart book 1 is the, it's the international, I forget what it stands for. You don't need to know, but whatever it is. The international something of something. So the United States is IALAB. This you need to know. They asked that question. Here's all of the Americas, as a matter of fact, are B. Parts over here are B as well. But guess what? Nikki, where she grew up, and I've sailed in both Australia and New Zealand. I boated in both. You say red, right, returning to people, and they look at you like you're nuts, because it's the opposite.
They're left, right, return? Oh wait, I didn't see that.
Exactly.
Left, return?
Yeah, it doesn't work as well though. I think they have a phrase, I just don't know what it is. But, so, where we are, this works, red, right, returning. However, when you're in some place that is an A, which includes Europe, so if you ever end up in a situation when you're sailing in Europe, or you end up in a situation where you're down in Australia and New Zealand, it's going to be exactly flipped. And there is a question on the test, on one of the year's tests, that actually asks something like, you're coming into a harbor in IALA area, which side do you leave red none 2 on? And it's multiple choice.
How come half of China is A and half of China is B?
No, it says Japan.
Yeah, Japan, Korea, and the Philippines. The rest of Asia is all A. It's the International Association of Marine Aids to Navigation and Lighthouse Authority. I have it right here on my page, and I didn't see it in the news. So let's talk about the visual voyage system that we see, because some of these you're going to know, right? These you've seen. See these all the time, red and green. You've seen this green here. What's a red and white?
Red and white is
It's on land.
So look directly south of Long Sand Shoal.
Of what?
Long Sand Shoal on your chart.
Yeah.
You see the dumping ground?
Yeah. No. Yes.
So look a little bit further south of that.
Yeah. Oh,
There's something that says RWCF. MAWHIS. What in the name does that mean?
Lois.
That means that it is a red and white buoy, like this, and it's red and white because red and white is a center channel marker. So that means if you're a big heavy metal boat coming down Long Island Sound, you probably don't want to go up close to Long Sand Shoal, and you probably don't want to get over towards Rocky Point over by Cutchog, you probably want to be right in the middle of the sound, and guess what? You might put that RWCF into your GPS as what you're going to, because it marks the center, geographic center of the sound, of the channel that the ship should go down in the sound. The CF, so everything has a visual letter on it. So this one doesn't show it, but you can see here, this one has a 1, this one has a 2. You know, when you come in to our harbor, there's a green gong 1 and a 2. Then you've got the Newfoundland Reef mark as well with numbers. So those that have numbers, it's not unusual for things to have letters when they're like a mid-channel marker. Okay, so that's what this is. So if you physically looked at this, it would be a red and white. It would kind of, I've seen it before. It would look like that, and it would say the letters C and F on it. What M, O, and then parentheses A means is it means that the light on this displays in Morse code the letter A. I have a video, I'll show you an example of it in a minute. But basically lights flash. So at night you can tell the difference between these. So let's look at Long Sand Shoal. All the way on the west side of Long Sand Shoal is RGW. Do you see RGW?
Yeah.
It says FL 2+1 R6 seconds. What that means is it flashes twice, pause, and then flashes once every 6 seconds. So if you were to count, 1 1,000, 2 1, so 6 seconds, it would go flash, flash, pause, pause. Now we're back another 6 second loop. So you can tell, and what they've done is they've designed these things is that there's not 2 lights typically that look exactly the same. So you can tell where you are. If you look in the middle of Long Sand Shoal, just to the south, there's an R8A that has a QKFLR. That means it's a quick flash. It means it's flash. It's red. If you go to the east end of Long Sand Shoal, there is an R8 that says flashing red 4 seconds. So that means that it's, red, usually it's on for a second, so it's red, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, red, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. By the way, both the reefs out here in in Captain's Harbor are both red flashing 4 seconds. And they're the same. So you can see those two. They're not in sequence because, it's not exactly 4 seconds. So this is a center channel marker. We know what the red and the green are. What about this guy over here?
That's just to mark land, really, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a hazard. What does a red over green mean?
It means you should go either side.
But you should go to red, return.
Why should you go red, right, returning?
Because it's more red than green.
Because the red is on top. The red is on top. Right? So whichever one is on top designates the preferred channel. So this is red over green. So that means if you're coming in and you see this, it means you can go this way, but the preferred channel is this way.
Is there green on there? I can't really see.
Yeah, it's a red over a green stripe.
Oh, okay. I just can't really see it.
Yeah. Then you've got, so let's say we go to the non-preferred channel, we have these. How many people have ever boated in Florida? Okay, what are these?
I have no idea, but
It's like for manatees.
They can't drop the anchors because it's like they want to preserve the nature, so they just put a big for man.
Yeah, they're called day markers. Jenny, you have a question?
You know how like at the end it like splits off into 2 days over there?
Say again, I'm
You
sorry?
know how there's like the drift over there? That like one goes to the left and then going straight out?
Yeah.
Is there a preferred one for that?
So you're going out of Great Captain.
Like is the preferred one just to go straight?
To get out into Long Island Sound from Great Captain?
No, like from
Here.
here. You know how it splits off into 2?
Oh, and there's the channel that sometimes your dad and I go through up closer to shore. Is that what you're talking about?
Like the one here?
When you're leaving.
Instead of going out where the marked one is, if it's high tide, you basically go straight.
Yeah.
That's not technically a channel because there's no red and green on it.
But isn't there
Yeah, there are that is technically not a channel. There is a red there,
Yeah.
but if we looked at the chart, it would say PVT-MNT,
Which means,
privately maintained, which means it's not an official NOAA buoy.
so if we were to look at it on this map, would it?
Yeah, we'll probably, yeah. It's probably not on that map because that's too big a scale. But if you looked at a smaller one, yeah, you would see that. What about these two? What are these two here that are on land?
They signify for land. No?
Your guesses?
Really?
Who's ever boated into Stamford Harbor? There's two of these. When you go through the breakwater, there's two of these in Stamford Harbor at the north end.
Like a similar water.
Nope.
For breakwater.
They're called range markers, even though they really don't tell you the range. If you're lined up, they're separate because if you're lined up straight on them, here's what it looks like. I think I might have a picture of this in a minute, but I'll just show you. So one is elevated more than the other one. So if you're lined up straight on it, so the one in the back is higher and the one in the front is lower. So if you were coming into the Stamford breakwater, so imagine I'm coming directly at the board and my arms in the breakwater, that's what I would see all the way at the north end of the channel, right? Or if I wasn't in the middle, if I was off to one side, it would look like this. Which side am I on? If I'm looking at this, which side am I on if that's the way that it looks? I'm on the right side. So I would have to line those up. I would have to get back in the left side of the channel. These are two dimensions of overlap. That's what those are called. Those are called range markers. They're really important for big boats, particularly like people who are pushing tugs and stuff. They have a hard time seeing the gongs. And they also have a hard time judging right side of the channel, left side of the channel, because the channel is not that wide and they've got, all these tugs and stuff. So I think those are all the major ones. That's just another one you see a lot. If there's a hazard inside of it, that's another way to show a hazard. So remember all those light phrases? This is what those look like. Okay, let me explain this. So imagine this is some period of time. All right, and we have like 2 cycles in it. So flashing up there. So it's a duration of light that does not exceed the duration of darkness, and the frequency is not more than 30 per minute. I mean, they get very detailed. This is in chart number 1, right? Quick flash. Where do we find a quick flash? Remember the one here in the middle of Long Sand Shoal? Quick flash in red. It says it's a flash with a frequency of at least 60 times per minute. So that's every second. So it's going flash, 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 flash. Right? So there's no confusion about. And then there's a very quick flash, which is 100 times per minute. I'm trying to think if there's a very quick flash around here any place. I don't think so. Not that I can remember. So it's worth taking some time to understand what these are. Morse, so the phrase, so Morse code's ... dash, Does anyone know how you do SOS in Morse code?
Dash.
Right, exactly. So it's ... which is S, dash, which is O, ... So if you need to send an SOS signal, like one thing that you could do if you're in trouble is like you could pound on the hull, ... then bong, 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 and then do it again and wait, and like sonar can pick that up a really, really long way away. And all Coast Guard ships have sonar that they're monitoring. Like you could do that on the hull of a fiberglass boat here, and they can pick it up 20 miles away. And they're going to start saying, "Where the heck is that coming?" So you see people do this flashing mirrors, like if they get stranded, if they see somebody, they'll try and turn the mirror, a signaling mirror, so they can go like, catch the sun, and then catch the sun like that. So a whole bunch of different ways. Anyway.
What if it's like in the night and like it's in the middle of nowhere and like you're far than 20 miles away from something, and nobody's hearing the sound? Like, is there some sort of like light you can do, or like some sort of like
Yeah, you can shoot off a flare.
vibrant? Oh no, I mean that.
Yeah, if you're in trouble at night and you need to signal for help, and this isn't like, you know, oh my gosh, I've run out of gas, all right? Because if you run out of gas, first of all, you should have your cell phone. You should have your VHF radio. It's not a life or death situation because presumably you have an anchor, and so instead of drifting into shore, you can put your anchor down, right? And eventually the current, you put out a lot of road, it will eventually stop you, and at some point in time, you will be able to get someone's attention and say, look, I'm out of gas. Right? Now, after a long enough period of time, if you're setting out in the middle of the sound for 2 days, right? Or if it's winter time and you run out of gas in the middle of the sound and you don't have the proper clothes on and you're becoming hypothermic, or it's a health issue, you can shoot off a flare. Flares work in the daytime as well. People who see flares in the daytime, there's different kinds of flares. There are daytime flares and nighttime flares, and there's multi-purpose flares as well. You can use smoke also, if you have that. But, so every letter in the alphabet has a Morse code, and so the letter U is ... dash. And so ... is U, so you would see this light would go ... dash, ... dash, and whatever period it says. Make sense? So, I know you're probably saying, well, it's hard for me to get my head around it. So because I love you guys so much, I made this video last year. Now what this is, I don't know how long it is. And again, I'll give you guys access to this, but it's going to demonstrate a bunch of these with just the light. So here you go. Duh, that's what a fixed yellow looks like. Spelled correctly. That's what a flashing light looks like. That's what a quick looks like. If it doesn't say a color, it's white. It's assumed to be white. That's very quick. More than 100 times a minute. This is an interrupted quick. See how there's an interruption, there's a pause in it. It doesn't do it all the time. It does quick, and then there's a break in it. Hello? Oh, okay, there we go. The isophase, which is equal parts light and dark. So if it's on for a second, it's off for a second. It's on for 2 seconds, it's off for 2 seconds. This is a group flash, which are written as X plus, so this is a group flash 2 plus 3. So you see there's 1, 2, there's pause, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, pause, 1, 2, 3. And so it would do that on however many seconds it says the period is on the thing. I like the occulting, which is basically it's on, then it goes off real quick and comes back on. There are a few of those around here. This is the alternating, and it will tell you what color. So this is an alternating. It'll probably just say alternating G, because it's assumed to be white, so it's going to go white G. It might say alternating GW, but it'll probably just say ALG. Probably what we'll say. Is our Morse code up next? Yes, so here's the Morse U. See how it's flash, flash, dash. So it's ... dash. No doubt about, which one that is. And then the last one was just the long flash. Not too exciting. Good? So that is a video demonstration of those. With that, it's 7:04. Let's take a break. Invasion.
Ooh.
Try and keep it to, yeah, like 5 minutes.